The snow fell in thick, silent layers, blanketing the small Swedish village in a sea of white. Maria, a middle-aged woman with a passion for gardening and quiet evenings, lived on the outskirts of town, where the forest crept close to her cozy red cottage. Her days were simple but fulfilling, until the night everything changed. It began as an ordinary evening. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting a warm glow across the room. Maria sat in her favorite armchair, knitting a scarf and humming a soft tune. Outside, the wind howled faintly, shaking the windows just enough to remind her of the storm brewing in the distance. She welcomed the solitude, a stark contrast to her busy weeks in town. But then something unusual disrupted the calm. A sound, low, guttural, and haunting, echoed from somewhere beyond her cottage walls. Maria paused mid-stitch, her heart quickening. At first, she thought it might be the wind playing tricks. But then it came again. This time, it was unmistakably a growl, deep and resonant. Her mind raced. Could it be a stray dog, a fox, or something more dangerous? She set her knitting aside and went to the window, pulling back the curtain just enough to peer into the darkness. Snowflakes swirled chaotically under the dim glow of her porch light. Everything appeared still, but the sound lingered in her ears, tugging at her curiosity. Against her better judgment, she decided to investigate. Grabbing her heavy wool coat and flashlight, Maria stepped out into the freezing night. The cold hit her like a wall, sharp and unforgiving, as her boots crunched against the fresh snow. She scanned the yard, her breath forming clouds in the icy air. The familiar shapes of her garden toolshed and fence loomed ahead, but something felt off. The faintest trail of paw prints, barely visible against the snow, caught her attention. They led straight to the shed. Her pulse quickened as she approached, the flashlight beam dancing across the ground. The tracks were larger than any dogs she had seen. Each step brought her closer to the shed, where the growl now seemed louder, more distinct. She hesitated, gripping the flashlight tightly. The structure had always been a harmless space for her tools and gardening supplies, but tonight it felt ominous, almost alive. Maria reached for the door, her gloved hand trembling slightly. The growl came again, this time from just behind the wooden planks. She froze, debating whether to turn back, but something, a mix of curiosity and a strange sense of responsibility, urged her forward. Slowly, she unlatched the door and swung it open. Her flashlight sliced through the darkness, revealing a sight she would never forget. There, huddled in the corner, was a wolf. Its fur was matted with snow, its amber eyes glowing with a mix of fear and defiance. The creature was magnificent, yet intimidating, its presence commanding. Maria's breath caught in her throat. She could see its labored breathing and the small gash on its hind leg, evidence of a recent struggle. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as the two locked eyes. Maria froze. The wolf's gaze was intense, unyielding, yet she sensed no immediate threat. It was as if the animal was as startled by her as she was by it. Slowly, she stepped back, giving it space. "It's okay," she whispered, her voice trembling but soft. She wasn't sure if the wolf could understand her words, but the tone seemed to calm it slightly. The wolf didn't attack, but its growl deepened as it shifted its weight. Maria's mind raced. Should she call animal control, the local authorities? But she knew the remote village had limited resources, and the wolf might not survive the weight. Instead, she made a decision that surprised even herself. She closed the shed door, leaving the wolf inside, and hurried back to her house. Grabbing a blanket, a bowl, and some leftover meat from the fridge, she returned. She set the bowl and blanket just outside the shed, carefully opening the door just enough to slide them inside. The wolf eyed her warily, but didn't move. Maria stepped back, watching as it sniffed the food cautiously before devouring it. She felt a strange mix of fear and awe. Over the next few days, Maria repeated this routine. She spoke to the wolf in soothing tones, brought it food, and monitored its injury from a distance. Each morning, she would stand by the kitchen window, waiting for the first signs of movement. The wolf's behavior gradually shifted from wary and defensive to watchful and calm. There was something profoundly humbling about the unspoken understanding they shared. One snowy afternoon, Maria decided to sit outside near the shed, bundled up in layers, hoping the wolf would sense her peaceful intentions. To her astonishment, the wolf emerged cautiously, standing at the shed's entrance. It observed her for a long moment, then sat down, its head tilted slightly as if contemplating her presence. Maria's heart swelled with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. The wolf's leg was healing well, though Maria noticed it still carried a slight limp. She began leaving small tasks for herself near the shed, stacking firewood or tending to her tools, allowing the wolf to grow accustomed to her presence. Slowly but surely, it began to linger outside the shed, even as she moved about. One evening, as the stars glittered against the dark sky, Maria sat by the fire pit she had built just outside her cottage. The wolf appeared from the shadows, padding silently toward her. It stopped several feet away, its amber eyes reflecting the firelight. Maria tossed a small piece of cooked meat in its direction. The wolf sniffed, then cautiously took it before retreating a few steps. This tentative exchange became a nightly ritual. Maria began to see the wolf not as a threat, but as a reminder of the untamed beauty of nature. Its presence brought a sense of wild serenity to her otherwise quiet life. On several occasions, she thought about what would happen when the wolf finally decided to leave. Would it survive? Would it remember her? One morning, as the sun rose over the snowy landscape, Maria opened the shed to find the wolf standing. Its leg seemed better, the gash healing cleanly. It looked at her with those piercing amber eyes, as if acknowledging her help. Then, without a sound, it turned and walked out of the shed, disappearing into the forest. Maria stood there, watching until it was out of sight. She felt a strange emptiness, but also a profound sense of connection. She had shared her home, however briefly, with a creature of the wild, and they had understood each other in a way words couldn't capture. Months passed, and Maria often found herself looking out into the forest, hoping for a glimpse of the wolf. One day, while walking through the snowy trails near her home, she spotted paw prints, fresh and unmistakable. Her heart leapt. She followed them to a clearing where she thought she caught a flash of movement, but it was gone in an instant. Smiling to herself, she realized the bond she had formed with the wolf would stay with her forever, even if their paths never crossed again. Enjoyed this incredible tale of human and nature? Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon to join us on more journeys into the extraordinary. On Glowing Stories, we bring you gripping, heartwarming, and suspenseful stories from all corners of the world. Share this video with friends who love wildlife and drop a comment below with your thoughts. What would you have done in Maria's place? Let us know, and maybe your idea will inspire our next story.